Hello everyone, and welcome back to your 5th Android Studio tutorial. Now in this tutorial I just wanted to talk a little bit more about what we went through in our last tutorial. So whenever you're creating any kind of, let me flip over to design. Whenever you're creating any kind of a widget, you can drag a button, you can place it where you want to place it. Right now if I were to place it, it wouldn't fit in with the layout because we have a linear layout and we just have a certain amount of space that we can actually put it in, so I'm not going to drop that on there. Or you flip into your text, and we do a lot of stuff with the XML with the text-based. So if we were to go back over here to text, so if you wanted to create a button, you would start with the tag button, as you saw in the last example. If you wanted a text view, which is basically just a label, you would start with the text view, and then you're just going to give it a width and a height, which is wrap content, and we want to give it a value. Text. So we created a text view. You can't see it right now because of spacing, so I will just take out that button so that you can see. And as you can see, you got your text right there. We'll put back in the button, take out the text view. If you wanted to make pretty much any kind of widget and element on here, you would just start with that, and then you would choose what widget you're actually looking for. You want an image view for showing images? Do you want a progress bar for showing progress, radio button, rating bar, relative layout, so on and so forth? It's as easy as just deciding on what item you want and starting it with the start tag. Then you fill out all the attributes that you need to fill it out. If you don't put attributes in it, it will default to the most basic default that it is set with in its program code. If you see here, if you hover over Android text 1, it will say hard-coded string 1 should use a @string resource. So if you click on more, it will bring up more information about what's wrong with this. So this is a warning. Android Studio is warning you that it's not quite right. So why is it not quite right? Well, as it said, @string resource. So we know where our resources are. We're going to go to our resources, go to our values, and go to our strings. So we're going to create a string variable. So we created a string that says 1. We're going to create a strings 1 through 4. Now as you see, it's got the red squiggly underline like it does if you ever spell a word wrong. The reason why it's doing that is because you can only have one string of the same name. That's how come 2 now does not have a squiggly, because 2 exists by itself. 3, the 2 1s are still because you cannot have 2 strings named 1. And there we are. So now we have all our strings set up. We're going to save that. I'm going to go ahead and close the Strings.xml. Back over here in our activity main XML, we are going to hit strings, so @string 1. So that, as you can see over here in the button, it still has the value 1. It's pulling the string resource from Strings.xml. So we're going to do that with each of these. @string/2 @string3 @string4. So we are now using 4 variables. Now, why would we want to do that? What would even be the point of putting your text or your string variables, creating these string variables instead of just hard coding? Well, what you can do is you can set up strings for English, you can set up strings for Spanish, you could, whatever language you wanted to do, you would have an XML set up for that language. So if we wanted to do Spanish, all we would have to do is go to this one file and change all of our, so we would change uno, dos, tres, cuatro. You would have one setup for English, one setup for Spanish, and then with the language settings on the phone, it would choose which one to use. So the other thing I wanted to go over, so with layout width, layout height, we just did wrap content. So for the height, we're going to change this right here to fill parent. So when we change that to fill parent, you see that it filled from top to bottom the linear layout's complete space. If you changed it to match parent, it also does the same thing. So if you had an element inside a button, if you were, just for example, we have this button, and it's wrap content and wrap content, so that's why it's not reaching all the way across the screen. If you had an element inside there that was match parent, it would only match this space right here as opposed to the entire screen. So if we go back through here and we change all the wrap contents to fill or match, then you can see a little bit better the 4 buttons are taking up the entire space. The 4 buttons are the layout. And that is the end of this tutorial. Thank you guys.